Hello buddy, welcome to another video. Now something a little bit different today. We're actually parked up in a lay-by out in Leicestershire countryside. So as it sounds, it's a year now since we actually had the van completed and went away for the first weekend in the Lake District. We actually realised it yesterday. It's like, oh, it's actually been a year since the first one that we did away. Ironically, we're not actually away this weekend. We were in the Lake District last weekend, but we're actually halfway up a mountain, so not really anything that we could do a video on. But yeah, we thought I'd do a quick video, sort of highlighting sort of what we've seen through the year, what changes we've made, and essentially, sort of what we've done with the van from when we first got it all completed. But essentially what we've got is the same van as when it was first built, but we've added a few bits and bobs on. We've taken a few bits out that that weren't working for us and just moved a few things around. But give you a quick rundown first of all, based on sort of what we've actually done with the van as far as sort of park ups and stuff like that over the year. Now I'm not saying we've got used to using the van quite a bit, but over the last 12 months we've actually had 68 nights away. That's from that first night away that we had with Campervan Tales up in the Lake District, and essentially we kind of seem to be making excuses to go away as much as possible. We are doing, at the moment, since last November, at least one weekend a month actually in the Lake District. We've found a few little favourite places that we do tend to keep on going up to, and a few sort of bits and bobs as well. We actually spent the entire lot of New Year in the lakes, so sort of 5 days up there. That was nice, but it was very busy up there and the weather wasn't fantastic, to the point that the first night that we were there, there were 65-mile-an-hour winds and driving hail and rain, and we were up on Newlands Pass, so we were sort of up in the mountains. It was quite scary, I must admit. We sort of parked up, it wasn't too bad. When we got up in the morning, we were in the middle of a lake. It was ridiculous, and that kind of sort of led us on to doing one of the other changes that we made this year, which is actually swapping out the sort of 3 seats at the front, so the main driver's seat and the bench seat, for 2 individual seats. So basically wherever we're parked up now, we can actually get from the front into the back without actually getting out of the van. So if the weather's not exactly the nicest in the world, we can just like jump straight through. Doesn't cause a problem with the weather at all. You have to excuse some of the traffic because it's a really nice Sunday afternoon and it seems the bikes are out to play, so you might get a little bit of noise. But yeah, that's one of the major changes that we did make. It's the sort of thing that we got ideas on fairly early on, but it's something that's really sort of the telling thing. We made sure that was the thing we did after we got back from the lakes on that trip. And to be fair, they've been absolutely fantastic. They're seats from a Peugeot 208, 2015 model if I remember rightly, and they were 70 quid a piece from the scrapyard. A little bit of box section and sort of measuring to mount it onto the seat bases, and they've been absolutely fantastic. Yes, we lost a little bit of storage underneath the seat because the bench seat was quite useful for storing boots and stuff like that, but for what we've gained, I think it's been well worth it. Other small changes that we did make are just little things like sort of adding shelves into the cupboards and sort of moving things around in the actual cupboard areas, just so sort of you get used to the sort of things that you take with you, the sort of things that you don't. I mean, the thing that is quite crazy, when we were sort of probably, I think it was February time, we were up in Grimsby, when we actually bought all the carpet for the walls. We fell in love with the tabletop. We bought that thinking, yeah, that'd be ideal, and that sort of set the scene for the colour scheme in the van. Amusingly, I think we've used it 3 times since we actually sort of had the van finished. It's easy enough to set up, but normally we just don't tend to sort of bother too much. We've had a few meals in the van, but not enough to sort of think, oh yeah, we've got to have the table out for doing stuff. So it's not been sort of a massive problem because it stores flat down the back, so it doesn't really take up any room, and it's there if we need it. We did use it when we were in the Lake District sort of last August. We both just set up outside and had a couple of chairs out. But that's the ideal thing with this table. It's not something that, like you've got some of the Fiamma legs where you have to like sort of bolt it into the unit on the floor. So literally you're stuck with it inside the van. We've got a bit more flexibility with it. So we always keep it with us. You never know when you're going to need it. As far as everything else goes, it's pretty much the same as it was when we first built it. We put a lot of thought into how the layout was going to be, so we didn't want a rock and roll bed and the usual cupboards down the side like you see a lot of the T5s, T6s and the transporters and stuff like that. Main reason being is we didn't want to lose all that space, because once the bed's out you can't access your kitchen area, so it's that's not something we want to. We want to be out, so if we sort of parked up we could leave the bed up, have a cuppa and not really sort of worry about, oh, we've got to put the bed away before we can do anything on that. And I think the system that came up with is absolutely spot on. Width wise, it's about 5'5" across, top to toe, which for Trace is ideal because it's only 5 foot. For me, I'm about 5'8", so I do have to sort of have a bit of the diagonal on or sort of lift my knees up, but it's a comfortable setup. I mean, it's very rare I actually sort of stretch out at home in the bed anyway, so it's never been a problem. I remember the first night that we went away, that was the acid test. We'd never actually sort of set up the bed, we'd never set up the toilet or anything like that, so it was all completely new. And we arrived in the Lake District in the pitch dark at 1:30 in the morning, and it was a bit of a challenge. It was like, who's going to go where, what we're going to do, how we're going to work it. But now it's under 10 minutes, the whole thing's set up, ready to go, and the same to pack it down. It's so quick, so easy. We can just get the routine exactly right. I think that's the key to it. You've got inside whatever you want to do. On the outside this still looks like a builder's van, which is absolutely ideal for us. But inside we've got a nice little van setup, which I don't think we actually would change now. It's absolutely spot on for us. Yes, occasionally I think it would be nice to stand up, but we've got the little seat that we pull out if we're cooking, which sets us exactly the right height for actually doing any cooking on the top. And yeah, it's never been a problem at all. Definitely with having sort of the new seats as well, it's not something that we've really sort of worried about. Oh yeah, when we're going over there we're going to need to stand up. You don't really. I mean, normally you transfer into the back, you'll be sat down, or if you're doing something actually sort of cooking, you've got a little stool out and it works brilliantly. It also gives us some great storage with the way it got set up, because both of the benches, the whole lot is storage. We tend to find the passenger side one, we'll store all the bedding in there, but that is literally probably about 3/4 full with all the bedding in there, so there's room for extra bits and bobs. So if we're doing a long run, we'll actually put all the clean clothes and stuff in there as well. As far as park-ups go, we've done quite a few different things. I mean, we've done lay-bys and things like that. So the classic lay-bys in the Lake District, next to rivers and sort of next to the lakes and stuff like that. We've also done campsites, which I just did one a couple of weeks back, which was fantastic up in Yorkshire. Reason that we do those is it gives you access to toilets and showers. So if you're having sort of an extended stay, at least you can use the showers and stuff like that. We've also done pub car parks. One of our favourites actually is in the Lake District, the Woolpack Inn. That's a lovely little spot, and the pizza oven is fantastic in the pub. Yeah, so I'll probably get another visit in the next month or so. But we've also done car parks. One of the classic ones that we do like is Ingleton Community Car Park. We actually did that one last week twice, and that's a lovely spot, really quiet, and it's well set out. They've actually got separate motorhome bays. Cost you £5 for the night, which these days actually isn't bad. You've got toilets on site as well, so it almost makes like an ideal stopover. It's the sort of thing, if we're doing the run to the lakes, I'm not feeling the need to actually go right the way into the lake straight away, we'll park up there and actually use that as a stop-off point, sort of on a Friday night. So travelling up after work, we'll probably get to there about 10:30, 11 o'clock sort of time, and I find that a little bit easier then, sort of just travel in the morning up into the lakes, rather than sort of being tired, going up into the lakes at sort of 11:30, 12 o'clock, and sort of hoping that you can find a parking space. So yeah, it's quite a handy one, and there's a few different ones around as well. Other things that we have sort of done in the past as well is when we're sort of going somewhere, we'll look, see what's around, see if there's a pub around. We did buy the Britstops guide, but we've never actually used it, so we haven't bothered buying it again this year. But we'll have a look around. If there's sort of some of the pubs around, a lot of the time you can contact them and say, yeah, would you mind if we actually sort of park up for the night in the car park, if we come in obviously and sort of have a meal or whatever. And a lot of them, yeah, they're fine with it, no problem at all. And so the Wallpack, because they've actually got proper campsite facilities, they will charge you. It's normally sort of £10 per person per night, but last time we actually parked, rather than actually in sort of the camp field, we parked in the pub car park itself, so they actually charge a tenner. So yeah, they can be quite flexible. It's worth asking. So something to consider as well if you're sort of not sure about sort of parking up out in the middle of nowhere. Another thing that we have done since we built the van, we've set up the solar, and sort of, we've now got sort of full solar off-grid charging, which on a day like today is keeping the battery well topped up, not a problem at all. The only problem that we've actually had to really sort of go out and sort of run the engine has been, it was actually a week that we had off in December for my birthday, and turns out we both ended up with flu, which was really handy. So it didn't go anywhere. There was almost no light at all. The weather was atrocious, really cold, really grey, but it meant the batteries didn't get a lot of charge. So we popped out, I think it was one day we popped out about half hour, just sat there with the engine running just to pump the batteries up, because the fridge, ever since it was put in back in sort of last April, that's been switched on, so it's always been on, always running. But yeah, we've never really had a problem at all. It's been really quite nice that, you know, like I say, we've got running water, we've got electricity. That's essentially all we need. But another thing that we have found as well is the use of the internet. Now, I know a lot of people, they'll go away and the lack of internet is really quite nice for them. Because of my background, it's all in IT and stuff like that, I find it a little bit weird being disconnected from the outside world and monitoring things at home and stuff like that, because there's quite a lot set up at home for the solar monitoring and stuff like that. So I like to have access to stuff. And we've got a little 4G dongle. It is a little 4G dongle that we run a SIM card in, and that 90% of the time does us quite well. The problem you do get is if you're in sort of areas that historically have very little internet. Yeah, for example, the Lake District. Most of the parking areas in the Lake District, you don't get a lot of internet at all. But strangely, when we were up the top of Bowfell last week, sort of 900 metres up, yeah, we got full 5G, but yeah, that's just the way of it. But yeah, we like to keep that handy. It also means that we can sort of, in the evenings, if the weather's not great or sort of we want to do just a chill out time, we've actually got a little sort of tablet that we use just to watch videos on, and we can download the videos to it, so we can sort of watch stuff without internet access. But if I've got internet access, we've got access to YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something we do, just set that up and sort of sit and watch that in the evenings. Like I say, if the weather's not great, you don't want to be out and about, it's an ideal way just to spend a bit of time. If you've got no internet at all, we also carry puzzle books, which is also a handy way to spend a bit of time if the weather's really not very good. So the channel going forward, probably find that videos will be more sporadic rather than regular. There'll be less about the van and more about what we're doing out and about. So we'll probably do little bits and bobs about, you know, sort of we've been to this place, this is where we parked up, and you know, sort of what the area was like. There's not really a lot that the van is going to need now. Yes, it had a little bit of welding the other month. We've actually found a bit of a hole, so I had to do a bit of work with that. And last week on the way back from the Lake District, we had the alternator go, so I changed that. But that was the sort of thing I had to do sort of in my lunch break at work, so I couldn't really do any filming on that. But yeah, it's had a new alternator on. We did get recovered back, and they were really good. I know people have had some problems with the recovery system that we use, which is auto aid, but essentially they're sort of are set up so they arrange cover through third parties. So it depends where you are as to how good that is. I know sort of Pip from Wormside View, she had a problem with her van, the gearbox went on it, and she actually had a really bad experience, but that is not down to the company, it's down to the local recovery agent, so not really a lot that you can do about that. So hopefully you'll stick with us, and you'll see more of where we're going. Like I say, we do spend a lot of time in the Lake District, we've found, but we do sort of like finding little spots out and about, and you'll find little park up reviews and sort of places that we go to. Like I say, it's not going to be all about the van like it has been, because, well, it's finished, it's working, it's what we've got. Everything seems to be sort of spot on, and we don't really feel the need to change anything. Touch wood, I think we've made the right choice of van at the right time as well, because van prices have gone through the roof over the last 12 months. To the point of something like this now, I'll pay 1,500 quid for it as the sort of bare builder's van. Yeah, I'll put a fair bit of work into it mechanically and stuff like that. But for the same thing now, you're probably looking about 5,500. So yeah, give you some idea of how much things have gone up. But unless there's something big that gets changed, you probably won't see much about the van. It's going to be more about sort of where we're going, what we're doing, and sort of general sort of areas that we're parking up in. So if that's your sort of thing, stick with us. And like I say, if you're new to the channel, what I will do, I'll pop a little link up there and another one down below to the van tour that I did a few months back, basically how the van is now for 2023. So you can see a bit more of how it is and what we've actually got as far as the van goes. But yeah, I think for now we'll leave it there, and I'll put a little bit of a montage up, little photos and the odd video from some of the bits we've done through the year. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you around hopefully very soon. Take care.